What's going on, guys? So in this video, I wanted to talk about a new pair of gloves that I just got. Now, I don't do a lot of reviews on striking products, which you think I would do, given that I am a striking coach. I do own a Muay Thai school, teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So this is a realm that I'm active in, and I live that life. But I don't know why I don't review the products a lot. Sometimes a lot of them are kind of similar. Okay, but today I had to talk about these gloves because I got these new gloves and they're absolutely amazing, so I had to just talk about them. So I have gloves laid out here, and these are some of the brands that I use, primarily use, okay? For years, like 8-10 years, this is what I've always used. I've always used Fairtex gloves. Fairtex is old school, been around forever. As far as Muay Thai goes, that's the glove that you get, okay? Fairtex lasts forever. I have Fairtex gloves and Twins. That's another brand. I don't have my Twins gloves out here, but Fairtex and Twins are a made in Thailand brand and made in Thailand brands. And I've had gloves that I get from them I've had those gloves for 10 years plus, and they still look new, right? And then it's a matter of taking care of it as well. But those gloves run about $100, okay? Now, I can't think of a time that I spent more than $100 on a pair of gloves. There was one pair of Twins gloves I had custom made, and so I did spend $130 one time on gloves. But usually I stay around $80 to $100. I will tell you, you can go buy a pair of $40 gloves, but you're gonna get a pair of $40 gloves. They're gonna do their job. They're not gonna be probably, if you hit hard or you train a lot, they're not gonna hold up and it could cause damage later to your wrist, to your knuckles and everything. And you just have to replace them in a year or two, or not even a year, depending on how much you train. But if you buy an expensive pair of leather gloves, they will last you. Now, I take that back. As far as boxing gloves, I did have a pair that cost over $200 of boxing gloves. They were like Everlast, and they laced up, and they were just the highest end Everlast gloves. They were a gift, so I didn't actually spend that money. But it was over $200 for those gloves. And those gloves were absolutely amazing. But that's what you get when you pay all that money. But again, I try to stay within that range. Now, the gloves I want to talk about today are from Combat Corner. I've had a few pairs of gloves from them, and they've always been good. The last pair I had was the Pro Sparring gloves years ago, and I did like those gloves, and I'll put some footage up of me using those gloves, and I sparred with those and used those for over a year, and I did like them, and then I gave them to a friend who needed a pair of gloves. So I haven't had Combat Corner gloves since then. What I have been using also a lot are these Venom gloves. Now, I like white gloves. That's kind of my trademark. My gym colors are black and yellow, so I do have these gloves, and these are my bag gloves. But I did recently start using these Venom gloves because of the extra cushion. I want to talk about cushion real quick and about how they're made. Now, Fairtex gloves are made in Thailand. They're durable, but they're just rough. Okay, they're not meant to be super cushiony or comfortable. They're just made durable. They're made tough, and they last. But I have to say that just over years of hitting and all that stuff, I've had pain in my wrist and pain in my knuckles, and so forth. You can only wrap your hands so many different ways to kind of mitigate that. But the fact is, the more contact, the damage is going to happen, or just pain and so forth. So sometimes it's good to invest in something that's got a little more cushion. It's meant to protect these things, especially if you're cracking a heavy bag a lot and you hit hard. These are things you need to consider. So I love my Fairtex gloves, but over time they did start to cause damage. And, I doubt it's my form. Could be. Not perfect. But why these Combat Corner gloves stand out? A few reasons, but they are now my favorite gloves, and I'm going to explain that to you. First of all, they're not cheap. These specific gloves on Combat Corner right now retail for about $120. Okay, so when you first get the glove, it seems kind of light. Like when you pick up a Fairtex glove or a Thai glove, it's a bit heavier. It has some heft to it. Okay, even here, they just feel like heavy duty, okay? These feel a bit heftier, but they feel cushiony, all right? And again, these are the gloves that I've been using for a while. A lot of cushion protects my knuckles and my hands. These feel really, I hate to use the word, but they feel cheap, okay? At first, you're kind of like, all right, but they're not. I think it's just meant to be light, okay? And a lot of that, I think, is this mesh lining here that these gloves do not have, see? And that, hit or miss with that. Does your hands sweat a lot in your gloves? Everyone's hands sweat in their gloves. That's why you have hand wraps on. But this does help cooling, but I think that takes some of the weight out of the glove. It's probably the way that it's designed. It just feels lighter. It is made in Thailand. You see the little made in Thailand stamp right here. Okay, what's really cool is the branding. They've got some Thai writing here. It's a very basic glove, all white, my favorite. And it's just well made. When I put the glove on initially, it was super tight, so tight, but I have big hands. I'm 6'4", I do not have little hands. I always have to use 16s or higher. When I first put the glove on, my fingers were going numb. It was so tight, but after like a couple uses, my hand kind of worked its way in there. Just the grip, there's a grip in here. It feels like that my fingers can hold it, it feels like a little bar. There's a little bar here. It's just solid. There's a lot of knuckle protection. The biggest thing with these gloves is the wrist support. Now, I will talk about the wrist support because I'm going to point out something. If you don't know by now, if you practice Muay Thai or you do any striking, there is a difference between a boxing glove and a Muay Thai glove. The difference is the wrist, okay? A boxing glove has a longer wrist, and that's why when I had lace-up gloves when I used to box, the lace-up glove would lace all the way down because it's about keeping your wrist straight for contact, okay? In Muay Thai, our wrists kind of curl because we need to clinch, and just the way we punch, it's like a cobra. You hear some coaches refer to cobra, and the knuckles kind of curve down, so the glove curves like this. So when you get like a Fairtex glove, if you can see, it curves, whereas this glove, let's see this one, it's straight, see? So this is a boxing glove, all right? This is a Muay Thai glove, and again, the difference being the wrist. Okay, you have a longer wrist on a boxing glove, again, to keep the hand straight. In Muay Thai, the wrist is shorter, but it's thicker, it's fatter. The reason it's fatter is for kicks, right? We block a lot of kicks, so you want a thicker cuff to kind of catch kicks and so forth. You don't want a really thin cuff here. Again, and also the reason it's short is so that it can bend, so that you can clinch, right? And you need to be able to clinch and manipulate people in the clinch, so you don't want your wrist locked up like this and you can't effectively clinch, all right? So that's the difference between a boxing glove and a Muay Thai glove. I'm sure there's much more differences, but those are the differences that matter to me. So this is a boxing glove made in Thailand. I would not refer to this as a Thai glove for the way that it's built, it's made, okay? Now, that said, I don't care. I can make a glove work. For me, gloves can be interchangeable. I've been using this glove for years, and this is a boxing glove, same thing, okay? But through wear, I can clinch with it. I don't have any issues, so it's all in your preference, okay? But I have to say, just again, it's just an amazing glove, especially, if just over time you kind of just have some wear on your body, some wear on your wrist and your knuckles, and you just need something that's a little safer for you to train with to kind of baby your hands a little bit, okay? This thing is well manufactured. It's super light, it breathes good, and on impact, man, I don't feel anything. So I love working the bag with these gloves now. These have now, and that used to be the case with these Venom gloves, right? Just made very well. These are now my favorite gloves. Okay? When you're spending over $100, the brand that comes to mind is always going to be Hayabusa. Everyone loves the Hayabusa brand as far as buying $130, $180 gloves from Hayabusa, and their trademark is kind of that unique strapping system. And it looks they refer to it as technology. It looks all technical, and they have these cool grooves in it. I've never been impressed. It's not a bad glove, and people like it, and a lot of my students use it, but I didn't feel a difference that was worth that kind of money, okay? So again, if I was gonna spend upwards of $100, I was always gonna go traditional with Fairtex or Twins Muay Thai gloves. But if I'm gonna recommend a glove that's over $100, I am gonna tell you that these are now my favorite gloves. I will put a link in the comments below, in the description below if you want to check them out, but again, they retail for about $120. On that note, if you are watching this video and you aren't currently training in these systems, I think you should definitely consider it. I think you should definitely find a gym near you and get some, even if it's just cardio kickboxing, there's nothing like striking for fitness. It's a lot of fun and it's a great workout and you can learn a lot of cool things, and I think everyone should know how to fight to some extent, okay? So I will leave you with that, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy my content, as always, please hit the like button and subscribe. Stay up on what I'll be putting down. Remember to keep fighting for fit, no excuses. I will see you in the next video.